packaged up.
I only found out about the statement yesterday that was actually put out. I think it was News Shaft that put it out. I got it for a tweet. And all my interest has been for 30 years now since the tragic loss of Willie. Quite honestly, I feel it should have been myself many years ago that should have started that petition. And so I feel quite ashamed that I didn't do that personally. But Mark's done it, thankfully. Whether it makes a difference or not, who knows? But we've got to keep on trying, get justice for Willie, and also to protect the futures of ourselves and everybody in this country, because if we don't stand up and get justice for Willie, who only knows who will be the next.
The reason why we want a fatal accident inquiry is because we have got a long list of questions which, as things stand, remain unanswered. The fact that the car was taken away and then brought back from the scene. The fact that we have an on-duty police officer who saw Willie McRae leaving West Nile Street on the Friday afternoon with a briefcase in his possession, being followed by 2 carloads of special branch. And then he turns up the following morning with a bullet in his head and the briefcase is gone. And yet the Lord, not just this Lord Advocate, but 30 years worth of Lord's Advocates have been saying that these are not suspicious circumstances. I just can't get my head around it. And then the car's moved, and then it's moved back. And the fact that witness statements are fabricated by police. You know, witnesses who said they didn't even speak to police, their statements on file. And then we've got the official suicide verdict being released prior to the completion of the ballistics report. So for me, you know, when you look at the legislation relating to the criteria for a fatal accident inquiry, it's very clear. Was the death sudden, suspicious, unexplained? Is there serious public concern? All of those criteria are in place. So for the Lord Advocate to ignore the legislation is unacceptable. The Lord Advocate on Monday said that no matter, there isn't going to be an inquiry, you know, regardless of any petitions. So that's shown a huge amount of contempt to the people of this country. And not only is he showing a huge amount of contempt to the people, but he's also shown a huge amount of contempt to the legislation, and he's the highest legal office in the land, and his sole purpose is actually to uphold and defend that legislation. If he continues to refuse an inquiry, I think we're also asking for his resignation.
I'm actually here just because I come from Galloway. Willie McRae basically saved the Galloway Hills from having a whole load of nuclear waste dumped on them. He saved the hills from where I'm from being decimated and dug up, and nuclear waste being buried there. So I believe that to honour that memory, I think we should have a fatal accident inquiry for him.
I was a very good friend of Willie McRae, or rather he was a very good friend to me. I first came across him when I was a student at Glasgow University in the early 1960s, and then later in the 70s when he became the parliamentary candidate fighting the Ross and Cromarty seat. He often stayed with me when he was on the campaign trail. And I can tell you that I lived in a very small village in Easter Ross at the end of a cul-de-sac, and there were always strange goings on at the bottom of the street, with people in a car when Willie was in residence. Nobody's ever asked me about it. Despite the fact that I did write at the time. I also came home one evening to my house fully lit up. It was at a time in the Highlands when nobody locked their doors, but we certainly switched the lights off when we went out, and I came home one evening after a night out with Willie on the campaign trail to find my house ablaze. Now I feel that by denying the inquiry is just burying their head in the sand. Chickens will come home to roost. We had the same fight over Bloody Sunday, we've had the same fight over Hillsborough, and I would just like to know what it is that Frank Mulholland knows that he doesn't want the rest of us to know.
What I'm really concerned about is what happened to these papers. We really want to know what was in these papers, and there's no way somebody as organised as Willie would have gone off the scene without making arrangements to have these papers looked at somewhere.
If the inquiry doesn't go ahead, it goes against everything that the Scottish people are fighting for. and it makes us all vulnerable about asking questions of the establishment and coming up with factual evidence of things that go on.
I collected signatures personally at an anti-Trident rally in Glasgow, and what absolutely amazed me was talking to people, was the number of people who knew about Willie McRae. People were really interested, they knew about him, and they wished us good luck in trying to get the inquiry.
So this is our, how many? Sorry?
They have the little white rose of Scotland.
Lovely.
They grow in Scotland, no matter the weather.
Beautifully presented. I hope they appreciate that.
I've got a little grey
I'll just take a little.
I like salmon, just one of those little grey hearts. It's only one other person that could really wear that. I was in the SNP shop helping for the campaign for Ronnie Kevin, and the 3,000 cheese leaflets for the other play were to be given out. Took them over to the square in Greenock and gave out thousands of them. In Tel Aviv there's a orange grove, a Jaffa orange grove planted in memory of Willie McRae, who lectured at the university in Haifa.
Obviously, see within the 12,000 signatures, you know, there's like, some of us think he was murdered, some of us think, you know, he committed suicide, some of us, you know, there's lots of different theories, yeah, but that's why all along I haven't really got into speculation related to what happened. All I've said all along is Willie McRae is due an inquiry, right? Just like every one of us under those circumstances would be due an inquiry. If the Lord Advocate can ignore the legislation in relation to the criteria for a fatal accident inquiry when it comes to Willie McRae, then he can do it for all of us. Absolutely. So we're not just here for Willie. We're here for ourselves, and we're here for everybody else. This is you know, the dust is going to settle. I think it's safe to say that no one wants to leave it here. So what we need to do is we need to explore our options. But if the Lord Advocate thinks that we're going to hand in 12,000 signatures today, and then he's going to say, you know, move along, nothing to see here, and then we're all going to just forget about it, then that's to your problem.
Grand.
Let's get this done, yeah. Okay.
I shall follow Andy in and see what he says. Is this a big no you're facing?
No.
Okay, I shall take a rotating shot. Coming out, absolutely. Petition received.
So yeah, someone came down from the Lord Advocate's office and were very polite and took the petition from us. Well, what happens now is we go to the pub. We have an highly missed Willie's favourite brand of whiskey. They were unhappy about being filmed. They also didn't want everybody in. They only wanted, you know, as small a number as possible.
Yeah.
But obviously we completely ignored that, and you know, pretty much everybody steamed into reception.
Good job,
listen,
man.
You know, on a personal note, I'd like to thank 12,000 people for signing this petition, because I think that is a massive result. You know, and from the outset, I wasn't hugely confident that the Lord Advocate would do the right thing, but I felt that it was really important to send the message. You know, I think it's important that even if the Lord Advocate is going to ignore the legislation, I think it's important that the people make themselves heard and the people express themselves, and that's what's happened here. 12,000 people have made their thoughts very clear, so the Lord Advocate is left in no doubt about the fact that the people are unhappy about the fact that an inquiry hasn't been approved, despite the fact that the legislation relating to fatal accident inquiries clearly states that Willie McRae is due an inquiry. Yeah. Also, a big thanks to Independence Live.
Grant, thank you very much.
You know, for actually putting the stream on.
Thank you for coming!
Yeah, how about a clap?
Thank you, Mark.
Hey. Thank you all for turning up and making it an event worth streaming.